Greetings of Agrippa. Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight. Thank you for joining me today. Today we continue our studies. So if you watch these videos, some of you have already read the 3 books of occult philosophy. It's always good to review. Some of you may have never read the 3 books of occult philosophy. So in watching these videos, you're getting little tidbits, little bits of Agrippa. And we're working through the entire book. So, all 3 books of the 3 books of occult philosophy. So you're getting little bits of Agrippa. I've posted a monetized link to the book if you want to buy a copy. So today we are reading Book 1 of the 3 books of occult philosophy. Book 1 was published in 1531. And then all 3 books together were published in 1533. So this is the great occult classic from the 16th century. The 3 books of occult philosophy by Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. So, in the last video, we read on the powers in stones and plants and things like that, herbs and metals that come from the qualities of the elements. And today we are on chapter 10 of the occult or hidden powers or virtues and things. Here he talks about something a little bit different. Whereas in the last chapter, it talked about how the sources of all these miraculous powers. Again, this was written in the Renaissance in the 16th century. This is not very scientific, a lot of this. But whereas in the last chapter, he was breaking it down that these powers come from the forces of earth, air, fire, and water. Today he begins to point upward to higher causes. So, chapter 10 of the occult or hidden virtues of things. And again, the 3 books of occult philosophy break everything down into natural magic, which is using herbs and oils and plants and stones. So using crystals and herbs and things like that to affect magic. The book 1 focuses on natural magic. Book 2 is the next world up. These are the 3 worlds of Agrippa. Book 2 focuses on astrological or celestial magic. And these 2, it goes into the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. All that is above is a reflection of that which is below. In that material things here on earth, every stone, every plant, is associated with a particular star or planet. And so, when you work with, what you have is a certain vessel, the materia, the vessel. So the stone, let's say you're making an amulet or a talisman, this is a type of vessel. The matter is like a cup. And what you do in magic is you call down the powers of the stars. You call down the powers of the stars into the matter or the talisman, as we'll get into as we continue through this great occult Renaissance classic. Again, this is from the 16th century, we're getting into the classical literature. But here he talks about how these qualities don't just come from the elements, it comes from something higher up, as we're going to get deeper into. So, without further ado, the 3 books of occult philosophy, Book 1, Chapter 10, of the occult or hidden virtue of things. There are also other virtues and things, which are not from any element, as to expel poison, to drive away the noxious vapors of minerals, to attract iron, or anything else. This virtue or power is a sequel of the species and form of this or that thing. Now, I know some of this might sound like word salad to some of y'all. You just have to keep in mind this was written in the 16th century. So, okay, whence also it being little in quantity is of great efficacy, which is not granted to any elementary quality. So he's saying there are certain powers that are not just from earth, air, fire, and water. There's something higher up going on here. For these virtues or powers, having much form and little matter. Again, he's saying it's not so much the material, the matter, it's the spiritus or the spirit. For these virtues, having much form and little matter, can do very much. But an elementary virtue, like something based on the elements, because it hath more materiality, requires much matter for its acting. So there's a lot of spirit in these qualities. And they are called occult or hidden qualities, because their causes lie hid, and man's intellect cannot in any way reach. So I don't want to keep breaking from the book, but he's talking about how there are certain powers in plants and stones and metals, things like that you use in magic, that don't seem to come from the matter. It seems to come from some kind of spiritual force higher up. And they are called occult qualities because their causes lie hid, and man's intellect cannot in any way reach and find them out. Wherefore philosophers have attained to the greatest part of them by long experience, rather than by the search of reason. For as in the stomach the meat is digested by heat, which we know, so it is changed by a certain hidden power, which we know not. For truly it is not changed just by heat, because it should rather be changed by the fireside than in the stomach. So again, this is written in the 16th century. It's not very scientific, but he's saying as an example, there's some hidden power going on. It's not just heat or fire. Otherwise, meat would be transmuted into flesh by a fireside. There's something else going on. So there are in things besides the elemental qualities of earth, air, fire, and water, which we know, other certain hidden virtues created by nature, which we admire and are amazed at, being such as we know not, and indeed seldom or ever have seen. And as we read in Ovid of the phoenix, one only bird, which renews herself. Quote, all birds from others do derive their birth, but yet one fowl there is in all the earth, called by the Assyrians phoenix, who the wane of age repairs and sows herself again. And in another place, Egyptus came to see this wondrous sight, and this rare bird is welcome with delight. So the phoenix, he's talking about how this comes from some kind of special, there's something going on that's not just earth, air, fire, and water. There's some kind of higher force at work. Long since Maitreus brought a very great wonderment upon the Greeks and Romans concerning himself. He said that he nourished and bred a beast that did devour itself. Hence many to this day are solicitous what this beast of Maitreus should be. Who would not wonder that fishes should be digged out of the earth, of which Aristotle, Theophrastus, and Polybius the historian makes mention? And these things which Pausanias wrote concerning the singing stones, all these are effects of occult virtues. I just wanted to add that. Yeah, okay. So the ostrich concocts cold and most hard iron and digests it into nourishment for his body, whose stomach they also report cannot be hurt with red-hot iron. So that little fish called Echinus doth so curb the violence of the winds and appease the rage of the sea, that let the tempest be never so imperious and raging, the sails also bearing a full gale, it doth notwithstanding by its mere touch stay the ships, and makes them stand still, that by no means they can be moved. So salamanders and crickets live in the fire, although they seem sometimes to burn, yet they are not hurt. The like is said of a kind of bitumen, with which the weapons of the Amazons were said to be smeared over, by which they could be spoiled neither with sword nor fire, with which also the gates of Caspia, made of brass, are reported to be smeared over by Alexander the Great. We read also that Noah's ark was joined together with this bitumen, and that endured some thousands of years upon the mountains of Armenia. There are many such kind of wonderful things, scarce credible, which, notwithstanding, are known by experience, amongst which antiquity makes mention of satyrs, which were animals in shape, half men and half brutes, yet capable of speech and reason. One whereof Saint Hierome reporteth, spake once unto holy Antonius the Hermit, and condemned the error of the Gentiles, and worshipping such poor creatures as they were, and desired him that he would pray unto the true God for him. Also he affirms, there was one of them showed openly alive, and afterwards sent to Constantine the emperor. So, that is chapter 10. A chapter in a lot of these old classical texts is often like a page or two. But that is chapter 10, and it's starting to hint at there's some kind of higher force at work. Of course, a lot of this is not scientific. Crickets and salamanders do burn in fire, as an example. But the point is what Agrippa is talking about with these. But anyways, so we're going to continue these readings, and thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see y'all in the next video, y'all.